Good evening, Bitcoiners. It is Brian, the UK Bitcoin Master, back as always every Monday and every Thursday with my live show. Apologies for earlier. We had a crash just after I went live. So clearly this is uploaded a little bit later. But as always, if you're a regular to the show, don't forget to retweet this. Pound that like button. That's really, really important. Today is the 21st of February 2022. And if you're finding the channel for the first time, really, really important you read this disclaimer. No financial advice here, people. You are simply not going to get it. So do your own research. Get in the rabbit hole, only buy what you're willing to lose, and only buy it if you feel it's right for you once you've done your research. If you are new to the channel or you're watching this in the future, do check out my 401 videos, including this one at ukbitcoinmaster.com. I've been live streaming or uploading and then live streaming since April 2018, ever since I really started to understand Bitcoin after the pump up of late 2017 and then the subsequent crash during early 18. And that taught me a heck of a lot, I have to say. So do check out some of those videos. BitcoinInterviews.com, that is where you'll find some of, well, all of the interviews that I've done today, some 50 odd of them already, including my interview last Thursday with the awesome Guy Swan. So do check out Thursday's show. That will be in the notes section below. And do go into the notes, people. There's all sorts of goodies in there to help you learn and to help you be guided on what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. So let's get rid of those. Okay, normally I would go into the chat and say hi to some of you. So for those of you watching it now, hi. Sorry, this is an upload or a premiere. I don't know which yet, but it's going to go out as one of those. Thanks for being here anyway. Don't forget to smash that like button, and really and truly, let's get on with the show. Now, what I always do, what I always like to do is get on over and have a look at what's going on with the price. You can see we're at 37,934 at the time of recording. But as you can also see on the 5-year chart there, if you buy and hold Bitcoin for 5 years, pretty well you are always going to be up on your money. And I won't do it, but you know, if we go back 5 years, we were looking at a price around $1,000 a Bitcoin. We're just under 40,000, so a 40x in 5 years. I think anybody in traditional markets would be happy with a 40x, I'm sorry, in 5 years. But the idea of showing this is currently you can see you're getting more sats for your money because Bitcoin is on sale. So at the moment you're getting 2,638 sats, excuse me, for every for every dollar that you invest. We've currently got a hash rate at 190 exahashes, and quite honestly, I'm really zen with the price. I'm okay with the price, and we're going to hear from somebody shortly who will get you to understand why you should not be focusing on what's happening with the price. Really important that you don't do that. So without further ado, let's get into that. Okay, so I'm going to run a video. There's a couple of people on this particular show. The first guy is a guy called Mike Alfred. Now, I didn't know who Mike Alfred was until I watched him on Dennis Porter's show recently. And I was really impressed by what he was saying, which is really emphasizing what I always say. So what I want to do firstly, before I run the video clip, is just to give you a bit of an intro to this guy. Okay, he's a value investor and entrepreneur with a net worth of $10 million as of 2021. He started trading tech companies and penny stocks in the late 1990s from his Stanford University dorm room. Now, this was during the dot-com bubble where internet stocks were skyrocketing, and of course, we know they later crashed. Now, the whole experience was invaluable for Mike, teaching him lessons about making and losing money, and that's really important. He had turned $14,000 into 52K at the peak of all that lot, but then was left with 20,000 when, as they tend to, the markets tanked. And this is why he initially dismissed cryptocurrencies as an investment opportunity due to its similarity with the dot-com bubble, and I could understand that. But with a strong business acumen that has made him a multi-millionaire, in 2008, Mike co-founded Brightscope alongside his brother Ryan and was the first online rating system for 401k retirement plans, and he ultimately sold that to Strategic Insight for between 35 and 40 million in 2016. Now, in my book, that is somebody that's gained a pretty decent level of success. Now, 2 years later, he co-founded Digital Assets Data, a mini Bloomberg and financial analytics company building enterprise software and data feeds for crypto hedge funds, market makers, and banks. And in early 2021, Digital Assets Data was acquired by NYDIG, no less, where Mike spent 8 months working and actually got an opportunity to see how the institutional business was being built at scale in the Bitcoin and crypto marketplace. So in my view, I think that's a pretty impressive pedigree. So on this first video clip, I'm going to stop it as we go through. There's a few things that I feel are really important that he talks about. Now, he says there are many years when something is being adopted where most think it's dead, or most get bored with it, or they get apathy with it. I feel that's what's going on in Bitcoin right now, and yet a lot of commentators are saying they would expect Bitcoin just to move sideways and not really do much through 2022. Now, again, I haven't got a crystal ball, so I can't tell you whether that's right or whether it's wrong. All I know is that is pretty well what happened for me through all of 2018 and all of 2019, or most of 2019. And that's what you need to deal with, because if you're going to get into Bitcoin, people like Saylor and all the others, 5 years, don't even look at this thing for 5 years. And if you do that, your investment will be way up on when you first purchased it. And what Mike is saying here is, when something is being adopted, it is all over the place. It's being manipulated. Markets are high, then they're low. You get whales come in, do all sorts of stuff. So it's really hard to get anyone interested. But anyone working on the inside or within that realm, they can clearly see what's going on. Now, you don't need to be working in that realm, but you just need to be learning about it and listening to several podcasts, because different podcasters and their guests will say different things. And then we start to learn that we shouldn't be worrying about what's going on with the price. We should just be buying, holding, and accumulating more as and when we can. He also goes on to say, no one used Google to start with. They just didn't use it. And he also says market prices say absolutely nothing about what happens over the long term. So it's really important to hang on in there. So let me run this clip from Mike chatting with Dennis Porter, and I'll stop it and interject where I feel it's relevant to say something.
There were many, many years between 2000 and 2020 where people thought the internet was dead, or people thought internet stocks had stopped growing, right? There was a period in 2002 where you couldn't get anyone interested in internet stocks. Like Amazon was trading at $12, right? Now it was over 3,000, right? I think it fell below that this week, but there was a period of time. There were multiple periods of time, both in 2000 to 2002, and then again from 2007 2009, where it's hard to get people interested. And even in 2013 2014, there was a period of time where Amazon basically flattened out, and it was stuck at $300 for a while.
Amazon flattened out and was stuck for ages. So there you go. Even with Amazon, are you a buy and hold and see it through the tough times and come out the other side better off? Or are you just, I'm bored. What's the new coin out there that's exciting that I can go and invest in? I wouldn't do that, people.
Didn't seem like it was going anywhere. But anybody who's using the internet actively, like building internet companies or software companies, or had sort of been around the space for a long time, right? Because I started using, Google in my Stanford dorm room in 1999. I remember going home to San Diego, over spring break, and talking to my, friends and their parents when nobody used Google. But this sort of cornucopia of internet companies was coming out of the Bay Area at that time. San Francisco wasn't even a hot thing back then. San Francisco was kind of a rougher city. There weren't all these tech companies taking over buildings, right, in 2000. Everything's changed. So if you see that type of metamorphosis in an entire ecosystem in an industry, and then you watch the market prices and realize that market prices say almost nothing about that long-term trajectory and long-term growth curve, you can...
Market prices say absolutely nothing about the long-term trend. If I were to go back over to the desktop now and we looked at the logarithmic chart, you will see that it irons out all the highs and lows, or the peaks and troughs, and Bitcoin is steadily moving in an upward direction. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, and I certainly don't know as much as many people are probably even watching this now. But what they're saying is, over time, forget the volatility, as long as it's moving in the right direction and it is being adopted. And I can't remember the figures right now, but there are just absolutely heaps and heaps and heaps of new wallets being set up, being spun up every single day. That is what's going on behind the scenes, and there's way more besides. And if you don't think senators are buying it, if you don't think huge corporations are waiting to pile in, you're gravely mistaken, people. And this is everything going on behind the scenes, when you was just a regular investor that's buying it and then seeing the price just go sideways and then go to 42 and then back down to 37, as it has done again today, and then up to 38 and back to 37 something. You're just going to get freaked right out. You just don't understand long-term thinking. And what he's really saying here is you've got to have long-term thinking. Everybody laughed at the internet in the early days, saying it wouldn't catch on. I think he talks about that in a second. Perhaps I'll be quiet and let him talk.
Look at what's happening in the market today and see it as essentially nothing. As long as the adoption continues, as long as Bitcoin is still going to be the world's money, as long as the network's going to continue to grow, the price is irrelevant. And even in situations like I remember in 2013, 2014, I thought, maybe the market was right. Like maybe I almost let the market convince me that maybe, they were right about Amazon. My brother said, no, like, look at all the things they're doing. He saw AWS and he was like, this story is just getting started, right? 600, 700 bucks in 2016. Again, I had that conversation with him. He said, Mike, I know you know Amazon better than most people in the world, but the market doesn't understand Amazon yet. Bitcoin, we're going to be having this conversation about Bitcoin for the next 20 years, right? There'll be periods of time where Bitcoin's price is stuck.
There'll be periods of time where Bitcoin's price is stuck, and then people will get bored. All I'm saying, off the back of what he's saying, is don't get bored. What have I always said on my show? Buy the coin, get it off an exchange and secure it yourself in a hardware wallet, and then get on with life. Go to work, spend time with your family, tend the gardens, go on holiday. Do what people do during life. Don't wish your life away, because Bitcoin is really the new modern savings plan, whereupon, unlike the conventional savings plan right now, if you put some money into Bitcoin, you've got a really high chance of 10xing, 50xing, 100xing your money, but over time. 1 decade, 2 decades, maybe 3 decades if you're a lot younger than I am. And that's the way you should view Bitcoin. If you are watching this for the first time and you're looking to come in and buy some coins, and a month, 2, 3, 4 months later get out and make a huge profit, Bitcoin is not for you, people. This is a long-term play. Let's finish off what Mike is saying.
Bounces around at certain levels, it goes down 50% multiple times in a cycle.
Yep.
But as long as you have that kind of North Star of understanding where Bitcoin's ultimately going on a point-to-point basis in 5, 10, or 15 years, you essentially have to put the blinders on and ignore market prices, because all the market prices are going to do is whipsaw you out of your fundamental conviction.
All the market prices are going to do is whipsaw you out of your position. I guess that's freaked you out of your position. So you sell your coins thinking Bitcoin isn't going anywhere. So, look, I have never made 20, 30, 40 million. I have never sold a company for 35 to 40 million. So I'm guessing that guy has got way more knowledge of these markets than I have. He equally hasn't got a crystal ball. So, you've got to be in this understanding that Bitcoin is only 13 years old and it could fail. Now they're saying, everyone's saying that it's not going to fail, but of course, can you predict what's going to happen tomorrow? No, you can't. We can't predict black swan events. But when you look at an asymmetric bet, Bitcoin has got the most upside of any opportunity in history, according to some really, really clever people out there. So for me, that is worth the risk of putting my money into Bitcoin, tying it up for several years. It has already been tied up for almost 5 years now. It'll be tied up for another 2 to 5 years at least before I do anything with it. So there you go. That is not a 5-year tie-up, as I showed you on the chart at the top of the show. That is me potentially locking our money up for between 7 and 10 years. So I'm walking the talk that I'm trying to get someone new to this to copy. Don't come in looking for riches next month. You may get lucky and buy low, and then there's a huge run up and you sell thinking, wow, I made 4x my money, I'm getting out. You'll sell your Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden it will correct and it will stay there for a year or two, and then it'll go off to the races again, and you'll look at what you sold it for and then what it's trading at now in the future, that is, and you'll be absolutely sick that you didn't buy and hold for eternity. Okay, so I found that quite an interesting clip. I hope you guys did too. The second clip comes from somebody that, if you're in the US particularly, you'll know of, and that is Senator Ted Cruz. He is currently a serving attorney, junior United States Senator for Texas, and has been since 2013. And he is really pro-Bitcoin, but this is his warning. And I always say, and I've heard this on a lot of podcasts, and that is, if Bitcoin is going to succeed as the future of money, then everything that gets thrown at it, it needs to shake it off. It needs to have everything thrown at it and shake it off if it is going to succeed as the world reserve currency, store of value, etc. that we all talk about. But be warned, Ted Cruz says, the authoritarians hate Bitcoin. Why? Because they can't control it. They can't manipulate it. So you need to be ready, as they are coming for Bitcoin, and they may even try to destroy it. But we've seen it many times before. Bitcoin really is freedom from governments and the like. Now, this is a senator, a sitting senator right now. So if you're new to all of this and you're watching this actually in 2022, you may be watching this in the future and lots more has happened. You've got to understand, Cynthia Lummis, we've got Senator Ted Cruz, we've got now the mayor of New York, we've got the mayor of Miami, to name 3 or 4 that are really pro-Bitcoin. We've got the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, has now made it legal currency down there. We're hearing that at some point through this year, there's going to be some kind of major further announcement from El Salvador. None of us have got a crystal ball, but like I said a few minutes ago, buy it and hold it and front run these big pension funds that will bring millions and billions into the space when they finally pile in. Do we all want them to pile in tomorrow? Well, I do, because my net worth is in Bitcoin. But if you're dollar cost averaging, of course, you're the opposite to me. What I mean is, I don't mind if the price moons, because my wife and I are sort of all in, and we're DCAing a little bit extra each month, but we're all in. But if you're just finding Bitcoin, just found Bitcoin, of course you don't want it to moon, because your sats for your dollar or your pound are going to go down. And I get that, and I understand that. The point is, because we know ultimately it's going to go up, you want to be stacking those sats before it goes up is the point I'm trying to make. So let's listen to what Mr. Ted Cruz has got to say about them coming for Bitcoin. Whoops.
Hate Bitcoin and they hate crypto, and it's for the same reason. Why do they hate Joe Rogan? Because they can't control him. He's not subject to their authoritarian power. Why do they hate Bitcoin? Because they can't control it. It is a system of currency outside of the monopoly control of the U.S. government. And I got to say, as I've addressed, I spoke at a big crypto conference in Austin several months ago, and I said, listen, you need to understand this administration, I believe, is going to go after you and is going to try to destroy you. And by the way, that's a pattern of authoritarians. China, communist China, outlawed Bitcoin for the exact same reason. Why does Elizabeth Warren hate Bitcoin? For the same reason that she in China hates Bitcoin, because neither one of them can control it. And the theme through all of this is the power of freedom to be not subject to the arbitrary whims of those in government power.
And you know what? More and more people, and I mean, we've only got to look at what happened up in Canada recently. You know, more and more people, more and more countries are starting to realize that, you know, the governments want to control us. They want to tell us what to do, when to do it. Their central bank digital currencies are really designed for totalitarianism. I think that's the right way of saying it, where literally they give you your bank account, your money that's in your bank account, they switch it to a central bank digital currency or CBDC, and then basically they'll give you an expiry date on it. If you don't spend it, you lose it. They could turn it on like a tap if you say something wrong on social media that they don't like. If you're late with a council tax bill or something, they could switch your account off, and all of a sudden you can't function. And that is so scary. And if that isn't a reason on its own to get into Bitcoin, so that if this went that way, you've got an opt-out, you've got a life raft, for want of a better word, freedom money, then I don't know what is. So hopefully you found those useful. I will say before we get over to some tweets, come and join us Thursday live. Hopefully that one don't crash. I'm chatting to another guest, somebody absolutely huge in the Bitcoin space. Now, you probably say, oh, you say that every time. I'm telling you, this guy is huge, and you won't want to miss Thursday's show. So come and join me live, 6 p.m. in the UK on Thursday, whatever time that is, East Coast of the US. It is going to be 1 p.m. On the West Coast, 10 a.m. Wherever you are around the world, you'll know what it is. Just type it in, what time is it in England, and you'll find out. But come and join me Thursday. So let's get on over to the desktop and see what's going on. Okay, firstly, quickly, if I may, forgive me. You know, I know my good friend down in Australia is desperately trying to sell, not desperately, wrong word. He wants to sell his digital asset portfolio. Now, this is not going to be relevant to anyone like us, regular people that are stacking small amounts of Bitcoin. But if you know a whale that's got hundreds and thousands, you know, would they part of 11 Bitcoin to get the domain name BitcoinToTheMoon.com? Look at that banner at the bottom. Bitcoin to the Moon is the common cry and dream of Bitcoiners throughout the world. When is Bitcoin going to moon? When Bitcoin moon? And all this stuff on Twitter. So I don't think, because I've got such a small channel, I doubt if many whales know this is for sale. So how do we get this message out there so that a whale, you know, Michael Saylor, could he afford to, he loves domain names, by the way. So if you've got any connection with Michael Saylor, tweet at him to come and check out this show, because there's an asset portfolio for sale that includes BitcoinToTheMoon.com. You never know, he might get over there and buy that. Okay, what else? Very, very quickly. The Bitcoin book. Yeah, there's lots of books out there, brilliant books. I've read loads of them. This is just another great book if you want to read something as a beginner, if you want to give something as a gift to a friend or a family member. Check it out on Amazon, Audible, and as a book. I've got my own copy behind the camera there. I've read it twice, 3 times now. I've listened to the audio version once. And it's a great precursor to something like the Bitcoin Standard from Saifedean Ammous. So it is well worth checking out. Now, I've started to realize that at the end of my shows, people are checking out as I'm saying goodbye before I've even gone, and they're disappearing because it shows me on my monitor, who's leaving the call. So maybe people are not seeing this. So I'm putting it a little bit further up the show. And that is this. Number one, I do not run this show for any type of financial gain. Okay. But people have said to me, how can we leave you a tip? I don't have 1,000 subs, so I can't switch on super chats on YouTube. Again, I don't need to, but of course, if they were on, it's one of those situations where I don't need tips, but I'll always appreciate a tip. Okay, if you've got a Sats wallet on your phone, wallet of Satoshi, Moon wallet, something of that nature, you can send me 100 sats, and it's about 5 pennies. Tipping.me at UK Bitcoin Master or UK Bitcoin Master at coincorner.io. So there you go. I've put that in the middle of the show. Okay, let's have a look at some tweets I came across. Firstly, I was talking about Cynthia Lummis a little bit earlier. She is a US senator who is banging the drum about Bitcoin. She tweeted, US Senator Cynthia Lummis, the Federal Reserve should buy Bitcoin. This was retweeted by Documenting Bitcoin. Federal Reserve should buy Bitcoin, says US Senator Cynthia Lummis. Cynthia Lummis, US Senator from the Wyoming state, said the Federal Reserve should hold Bitcoin on its balance sheet. Now, whether they're going to listen to Cynthia Lummis or whether they're not, that's not the point. There's another senator beating the Bitcoin drum to help people like you, if you're new to this show, new to Bitcoin, to understand that if you go back to the start of the show where I talked about when Mike was talking about how most people think nothing's happening and they're bored with it, but you've got to keep going because there's loads going on behind the scenes. Here's a classic example of that. Bitcoin Gandalf, the value of all. Real estate, 326 trillion. Bonds, 128 trillion. Stocks, 96 trillion. Gold, 12 trillion. Bitcoin, 0.8 of 1 trillion. We are still early. If you are watching this, you are so early in this. You come to the party when I got into Bitcoin in 2017, and I was talking to people like Bitcoin Meister who'd been in since 2013. I'm thinking, they were so early. If you're getting into Bitcoin now and you are DCAing and building up your Bitcoin holdings, there's going to be people next year, year after, 2025, 2028, 2030. They'll find Bitcoin and they will still be really early. And they'll see you as, golly, weren't you lucky? Weren't you lucky buying Bitcoin? At 38,000, I'm having to pay 150,000 for a Bitcoin or whatever the price is going to be in the future. We are also blooming early, people. Michael Saylor, given the uncertainties that investors currently face, it feels less risky to be holding Bitcoin than any mix of currencies, credit, equity, commodities, or property. Let me narrow that down. Let me simplify that. It is now irresponsible to not have a position in Bitcoin. You are irresponsible if you don't have some kind of allocation, whether you're a company or whether you're a regular retail investor like myself and many people on this show. So get off of zero is not my strong advice. I can't give financial advice. My gut feeling is when somebody gets in the Bitcoin rabbit hole, when you've learned enough, for goodness sake, get off zero. Seth Meister, aka the same name as Adam Meister. I just removed all fiat brackets, still have debt that I service, close brackets, out of my Canadian bank account. A good source that works at one of the big 5 Canadian banks tells me people are withdrawing funds like crazy. One moment. Get your money out of banks now before you can't anymore. People, if you don't know what a bail-in is, a bail-in happened in Cyprus. several years ago. They freeze all bank accounts, and you can only get a little bit out each week, each month. I can't remember the exacts, but imagine having money in an account and all of a sudden it's yours and they freeze it and you can't get hold of it anymore. That is a reality coming to a country near you as this whole economy meltdown starts to get worse and worse and worse. And it's clearly out there, and more people are seeing it and thinking there feels something really wrong here. And then, priced in Bitcoin. You spend 14 years of life attending school for 8 hours a day. Maybe that's the US. In the UK, on average, we start school around 5 and we get out around 16, unless we stay on a couple of years for further education. So I guess that might be, but 5 till 16, 60, what's that, 11 years, 12, yeah, it's about right. Many people in the UK stay on and do A-levels, so yeah, it could be about 14 years. Then you go to college and study useless information. After that, you spend 8 hours a day at a corporate job until you're 65 or dead. Fiat created time prisons. Bitcoin is the key. And it's true. More and more people now are opting out of not going to college or university, and they're getting into Bitcoin, learning about it, and then looking for jobs within the Bitcoin space. So many people, even young Will Clemente, the on-chain analyst, he flunked out of uni. I don't know what you call it in America. I don't think his parents were particularly happy, but he's now full-time in Bitcoin because this is a new economy evolving, people, and there are going to be so many jobs out there for people that have got innovative skills, maybe coding skills, maybe you're good at marketing, media, whatever it is. The jobs are going to come thick, fast and plentiful, where you can create massive success for yourself over the coming decades, as opposed to, as priced in Bitcoin says, studying for 14 years, then working at a dead-end job until you're either 65 or you're dead. And there is a statistic out there that still holds true today, and that is most people, when they reach 65, are either dead or they're dead broke. And that is really what this thing is saying. So to pull the whole show together, I love finishing with a quote, and I found this one. Always stand up for what you believe in, even if it means standing alone, said Kim Hanks. There you go. Those people in Canada, standing for what they believe in against all odds. Bitcoiners that put wallet addresses up to try and help these are now having their own battles. So they're standing up for what they believe in, even if it means standing alone and facing everything being thrown at them. So you guys up in Canada, our thoughts are there with you. I think this is going to come to a country near you because people now feel they've had enough. Something's not right. And more and more people are really starting to feel this. So forgive me for this being, I probably have put this up as a premiere. Forgive that. But I did have an issue when I went live earlier. But come and join me on Thursday, 6 p.m. UK, where I'll have another Bitcoin conversation with an awesome Bitcoiner in the space. Wherever you are watching this or listening to this, if you're on the podcast, please share it where you listen or view it. This goes up on BitChute, library.tv. It is currently out there. No, it's not on Twitter, actually, because the live stream failed. So it wouldn't be on Facebook either. But I'll do something about that a little bit later. But for now, I'm out of here. Have a great week, whatever you're doing. Build that strong hand, people. Ignore the short-term price. Hold on for dear life or hodl. I'm Brian, the UK Bitcoin Master, signing off for now. Going to leave you with my social media links, and I'll catch many of you on Thursday. Bye for now.